The amber fields of Oakwood, Texas, rustled under a vast, unforgiving sky, a town where Friday night football was a religion and a handshake was a binding contract. It was a place built on certainties. And the most certain thing of all was Mr. Arthur Collins. He wasn't just a teacher. He was a pillar. For 28 years, he had been a fixture at Oakwood High School, a man whose life was a lesson in quiet dedication. His classroom, room 214, was a sanctuary. It was where struggling students found confidence during lunch-hour tutoring sessions, where he kept a secret stash of granola bars for those who came to school hungry, and where the dusty American Civil War came to life through his passionate, heartfelt stories. He was a man who bought the entire baseball team new cleats when the budget was cut anonymously, of course, which is why the morning of October 27th didn't just feel like a tragedy. It felt like a fundamental tear in the fabric of their reality. The discovery was made by Sarah Milligan, the school's head secretary for 30 years. She found the main door to the school ajar, a subtle rawness that set her heart racing. The hallway to room 214 seemed longer that morning, the silence heavier, a stark contrast to the usual chaotic symphony of school day. The door to his classroom was slightly open. She pushed it, calling his name. The scene inside was one of calculated chaos. Desks were overturned not in a frantic struggle, but with a strange, almost deliberate precision. Textbooks were scattered across the floor. And in the center of it all, lying before the chalkboard where he had sketched the Battle of Gettysburg just hours before, was Mr. Collins. The violence of his end was a brutal, ugly stain on the memory of his gentle life. The 911 call was a masterpiece of suppressed hysteria. "It's Mr. Collins," Sarah whispered into the phone, her voice cracking. "At the school. Something's very wrong. There's so much blood." The initial police response was swift. The town's 3 cruisers were joined by Stotties, and soon the ominous, dark sedans of the FBI rolled in, their presence signaling that this was no ordinary death. The school became a fortress, wrapped in yellow tape that fluttered like warning flags. Parents, alerted by frantic texts and phone calls, gathered at the perimeter, their faces masks of fear and disbelief. The air was thick with the sound of sirens and sobs. The official narrative in the beginning was one of a possible burglary gone horribly wrong. But the cracks in that theory appeared almost immediately. Mr. Collins' wallet, containing over $60 in cash, was found untouched in his desk drawer. His expensive-looking watch, a gift from class of '95, was still on his wrist. Nothing of obvious value was missing. Then came the suspects, a parade of the town's fringe characters who were as quickly as they appeared. There was Leo Jitters Mendez, the night janitor who had a record for minor theft and whose alibi for that night was watching TV alone. He was questioned for less than 2 hours and released. There was Ryan Becker, a former student whom Mr. Collins had failed a decade prior, a failure that, some whispered, cost him a football scholarship. Becker had been heard muttering threats in a bar years ago. He was brought in, but released without even having his alibi properly verified. Why weren't the police pressing harder? The town's fear began to curdle into a low, simmering anger. The most baffling piece of the puzzle was the school security system. Oakwood High had installed new, high-definition cameras just the previous year. The camera at the end of the hall, pointing directly at the door to room 214, was the most crucial one. Initially, police stated the footage was corrupted or unrecoverable, but an IT technician, who later spoke on condition of anonymity, confessed a chilling detail to a local reporter. The footage wasn't corrupted. It had been deliberately looped. For a 2-hour window that night, the camera showed the same empty, static hallway, a perfect digital ghost. Someone knew how to bypass the system. This was the moment the case turned. This was no longer a story about a random killing. This was a story about a secret. What secret could a beloved schoolteacher possibly have? The investigation into Mr. Collins' private life revealed a man who was, by all accounts, exactly who he appeared to be: a devoted husband, a father of 2 grown daughters, a deacon at the local church. He had no debts, no vices, no hidden life. Or did he? A deeper, more persistent digging by a few dogged local journalists uncovered a curious thread. For the past 3 years, Mr. Collins had been spending his Tuesday evenings at the local community college, not teaching, but taking a class, an advanced night class in forensic accounting. Why would a history teacher need to learn forensic accounting? The trail led to school district's own finances. Oakwood Independent School District had recently completed a massive, multi-million-dollar renovation to the high school's athletic facility. The project had been plagued by cost overruns and delays, but was championed by the popular superintendent, a man named Gerald Davies. Davies was a towering figure in Oakwood, a smooth-talking politician who was widely tipped for a future run at the state capitol. Rumors began to swirl. Whispers of embezzled funds, of kickbacks, of phantom contractors. Was it possible that the gentle, principled Mr. Collins, the man who believed in right and wrong with the fervor of a historian, had stumbled upon something? Had he seen a discrepancy in a budget report? Did his new interest in forensic accounting have a very specific and very dangerous purpose? When journalists began asking the district attorney's office about these rumors, they were met with a wall of silence. The FBI, once so visible, seemed to withdraw. The case was suddenly under review. Crucial files were reported as misfiled. A key piece of potential evidence, a partial muddy footprint found near Mr. Collins' body, was somehow lost from the evidence locker. The higher the investigation tried to reach, the more it seemed to be gently but firmly pushed down. It was as if an invisible hand had settled over Oakwood, smothering the truth. Today, the file on the murder of Arthur Collins is classified as inactive, unsolved. Superintendent Gerald Davies retired comfortably and left the state. The new athletic facility stands as a gleaming monument, its Friday night lights blinding the town to the darkness that built it. The people of Oakwood try to move on, but the wound never truly healed. They look at the school, a place that was once a source of pride, and now see a tomb. They look at each other and they wonder. The evidence, the bizarre investigative missteps, the silence whispers, they all point to a terrifying conclusion. The truth of what happened in room 214 is not just about who wielded the weapon, but about the conspiracy of silence that followed. It's about the powerful secrets a small town can keep and the devastating price one good man paid for getting too close to them. The questions now are not just who, but how high does a conspiracy go? How many people know the truth? And in a town that valued its image above all else, did they ultimately value that image more than the life of the man who was their very heart? The bell still rings in the halls of Oakwood High. But for Arthur Collins and for the soul of the town, he loved the silence that followed his deafening.